games?
Need for Speed Heat.
Oh boy,
is out.
Wow.
This Friday.
Is that like a phone game?
No, this is a Need for Speed game for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and personal computers.
What?
And so I guess like the trial, like the EA Access stuff has come to all platforms now. Like that's out on PS4 and it's out on obviously like Origin Access.
Did the like high tier access period start already?
Yes, I believe today is the first day.
So people are out there playing it.
Yeah, for like their 10-hour trial or whatever. So I started. Yeah, I played a bit of that over the weekend, and
All right. Thank you for the Need for Speed.
Is it hot?
No,
Are the streets hot?
In fact, it's like raining most of the time.
Oh,
I mean, I like some wet pavement.
Yeah, so it's on the PC. I think it looks whatever. It looks good on PS4. Also, those are the two versions I've seen. The frame rate you get out of the PC certainly goes a long way. I think it's a pretty nice looking game. Like it's the Frostbite engine feels like it is maybe that they have like wrestled it to the ground and said, no, this is a driving game. Stop being difficult, and have gotten it to work this time better than maybe they have in the past. But it's a nice looking game. Everything busts up when you drive through it. Almost too much. Like, it's like a big tree that just disintegrates when you hit it. And you're like, that maybe some of these objects should be solid to make me have to drive a little carefully. But so there's a couple of interesting things around the edges.
What kind of a Need for Speed is this?
It's another one of the ones they've been making.
Okay.
It's another open world Need for Speed game. I've not seen any other players yet because I've been playing prior to the period starting. But it is, you can play online or offline, and if you pick online, there's really no pause. Like mid-race, you pause the game, your car keeps... You go to the map, your car keeps rolling and crashes into a fucking... You're like, what the fuck? Like, it's annoying, actually.
It's like you're looking at your Google Maps
totally.
on your phone.
It's like frustrating
it's like,
that it's like that. So you can play offline and then pause the damn game. And it seems like maybe the only thing you would lose out on is maybe seeing other players. Like I said, I have not played when other players have had access, so I have not seen another human. And when you start an event, when you're online, you can opt to like try to offer the race to all the other players in the world. Which if no one is in the world, it actually just has this countdown timer that then stops and does not start the event. And you're like, what the? Oh, I got to back up, drive back up to the start point, hit start, hit play solo. Anyway, it is an open world racing game, and they have put events in there, and they've got a little drift story, they've got an off-road racing story, and they've got a racing story. And
what is the tone of the writing?
It's like it curses a little more than I remember Need for Speed swearing. It's like a lot of like people going, "Oh, bullshit!" Like it's got this kind of Miami-ish kind of coastal vibe, very rainy. Latin kind of sound,
less social media influence than the last one.
Wasn't the
previous one the one that was all about getting likes?
Right. So in terms of it being a currency in the game, no, that's not present. But like one of the first things you do is you go do a race, and then the lady you're working with is like, "Oh, we got like hundreds of views of this video." So it's like the story certainly.
You're going viral.
Yeah, the story certainly has aspects of just like we outran the cops and posted it to the internet. How badass is this?
It's pretty badass.
The game starts out like with a really like a cutscene of like the cops are fucking fucked in this game. They have there's a big long cutscene of like the chief of police or whatever, the head cop, giving a press conference about how he is zero tolerance on racers, and just like like
give him the chair.
Yeah, pretty much, practically. And then you play as a character doing a nighttime race, and then it goes awry. The cops find you, and then like literally like the character, the car ends up falling off of a bridge into the water. The character's sitting there. Fucking cops standing over him, and they're about to kill him. They're about to like, we're gonna make an example of you racers. Like literally, like gonna fucking like murder this dude and plant a gun on him or something.
Jesus.
And then that ends up not happening. But that guy's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. Fuck this town.
Right.
And then you play as a different character in the game.
Okay.
Which like is a promising start in a way. Where you're like, oh, the cops are like fucking like this head cop is literally like turning off the camera feed so that they can do you real dirty and not.
That's a cool narrative. I mean, it makes stakes exist, which like Need for Speed, I feel like traditionally is like either you're in a gang, or like I don't know, you're in a car. Like there's no reason that you're racing around this world. There's no motivation for you.
I've got a need.
Right. They don't do a good job of expressing why you have this need for speed.
You're right. Actually, you're totally right.
You're born with it.
And they so that's like an interesting premise to start out the game. Like, the cops are like fucking cops. They're going to turn this camera off and murder this dude.
I mean, isn't that the whole gameplay hook of like at night they're out trying to take your ass down?
So that's there's a yin and yang to this game that I think is like intelligently designed, but the game itself is pretty boring. And that's the problem. So you've got two currencies basically, or two numbers that go up. You've got money, which they helpfully call bank because that's edgy.
I get that's what the kids say.
Edgier, it's like we got to get a fat bank. What are you sitting on all that bank for?
Oh,
like it's just like why fucking.
At least it's not bitcoins.
Yeah, but it's just weird. It's like just say fucking money, just like
cash.
Yeah, bank is a word for cash. Throw it in there, but like.
Skrilla, even.
Yes. I've got to get more Fetty homes.
Cheese.
Sure.
Gouda.
Yeah. So like them like branding it as bank is just like it's one of the most fucking.
It's like somebody. It's a 40-year-old in a suit going. What do the kids call it? What can we call it?
Exactly the vibe.
Bank?
That is exactly the vibe.
It's edgy.
So anyway. You've got daytime and nighttime. In the daytime, you get into races that are sanctioned events as part of the showdown, whatever, festival, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
When you complete the races in the daytime, you earn bank. But because you're a nobody around town, no one wants to sell you shit. Bank is apparently not enough.
What?
Oh, boy.
They're like, yo, your money's no good here. So basically, like, the in-game thing is like, they only want to, hey, there's a lot of racers in town right now for this big event. We only want to sell you shit if we think you're going to put it to good use.
Okay.
That's a line of dialogue that actually weirdly justifies this whole system.
There's a supply issue.
Yeah, and you're like,
it makes sense. The cops are probably cracking down on distribution of racing parts. And...
So when you race at night or fuck with the cops at night, you earn rep. And you gain levels in rep. You get to rep level 5.
Really bank and
rep. Ugh. You got a lot of bank to earn. No, doesn't sound like. So you race at night to level up.
Yeah.
So that you have more options to spend your daytime currency on. And so you kind of swap back and forth. There'll be story events that take place at night, story events that take place during the day. The day is very low stakes. And at any point during the day, you can open up the map and say, take me to night. And it will fucking do a cool little transition to nighttime. But once you're out at night, you have to drive back to a garage to end the night, as it were. Because that's when you're out there building up heat and building, as you win these races, you'll get rep that you have not banked. Well, that's even more confusing. You'll have rep that you have not cashed in and made real yet. You will have this temporary rep that you're out there that night with that you get for completing races, fucking crashing into cops, doing other, doing stuff around the world. And then to end of the night, you have to cash in all that rep. And once you deliver that, it's the end of the night. You're back in the garage. You're safe. And all that stuff ticks in.
That sounds like an interesting way to kind of use their setting there of like making it feel like there's a threat out there. The cops are a threat.
It becomes that thing of like, if you want to push it, your multiplier will go up and you will start to earn more and more rep for the things you're doing.
Yeah.
Once you build your heat level, that will in turn make it easier for you to earn rep, and you kind of chain that together. But then that becomes the risk, because if you get busted by the cops,
you lose it
all. And some of your money on top of it. And some of your bank.
So it's like Souls.
Sure.
In a Dark Souls game.
I mean, like talking to someone who was at EA back when this generation started, like Dark Souls was something that apparently they were looking at with like the first Need for Speed for these consoles. Rivals, I think, was the first one. I forget.
Yes.
So like that was that kind of connected world. And so they're chasing after this like open world driving game, connected world experience, multiple racers in the world.
A Strand game.
Yeah, a Strand game. Exactly the same style of thing they've been doing for this entire generation. And I feel like they've yet to make that good, or yet to make good on that promise of like, why am I connecting to all these other players? Like the things I can do with them are so limited because the open world is so large That like all I can really do is drive up to a mission start point and say, hey, I'm doing this. If anyone wants to warp here and do it, we can do it together. And then maybe I'll earn more rep if I win. Like it's not enough of an incentive to.
That's like what Forza Horizons added, a decade ago,
right? And what Need for Speed has been doing for a decade, also.
Sure, but then,
like
nothing since.
Yeah, like Forza feels like it has found more ways to make player interactions fun and that sort of stuff. And I think
flossing.
Yes, like flossing, for example. But no, like the Forza-thon stuff of bringing people together in the most recent game, like it at least gives players a reason to be in the same physical proximity and interact maybe. And Need for Speed, again, like, I still need to spend more time with it once it's out more widely and all that sort of stuff. So, this is certainly not a review, but like my impressions of the early game and how that stuff is built, it just kind of seems like they're doing largely the same stuff they've done. And it hasn't worked up to this point, and it's weird that they're doing it again. I think they do a better job of like showing how a Need for Speed game controls. Like they physically call out like, all right, hey, you want to drift around a corner, let off the gas and then mash the gas again around these turns. Like that's how you drive in Need for Speed. Like and all those other games. Like that's how that works. And they do a good job of like getting you up to speed on their the way they do their handling and all that stuff. And there's a lot of customization options, and you can unlock undercarriage neon lights, and you find street art. Would you like to collect this street art? Like, yes, officer, I would. And you're collecting graffiti out in the world that you can then apply to your car and stuff like that too. So like they've done better with car customization. I think Forza kind of finally spurred them on to do better in that realm. So they've kind of picked up the pace a little bit there. But like, yeah, it's got billboards to break, which like. You're like, oh, just like Burnout Paradise. And the trophy for getting them all is a little bit of paradise. And you're like, okay, no, I get it, and you get it. We all get it here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the world and the handling model and the way, like, it's not like sick-ass ramp, and not all the time. It's not sick-ass ramps that you're hitting at high speed and busting these fucking billboards mid-race and going. And it doesn't have that same fucking adrenaline fuel. It lacks juice. There's nothing going on. It just feels flat. It feels slow, especially on PS4 where you've got a slower frame. The frame rate's fine, but it's like a locked at 30 kind of thing. It's not on PC that much higher frame rate was like, okay, this is significantly better. It feels better, looks better, all that other stuff. But even there, the cars feel too heavy or too light. I'm not finding a sweet spot there. It doesn't feel fun. It feels like they wanted to be realistic, or they had to be realistic in just enough ways to maintain that authenticity that comes with real world cars and all that other stuff. And that comes at the expense of like, man, I just want to fucking Duke boys fucking jump over this shit and get crazy. But even the jumps that go over water, at no point are you like stoked about it. It's just like, all right, I made it, and I didn't fly crazy high in the air. It's like boom, 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 and you keep going. And it needs to be more over the top. I think that's the weird problem they found themselves in with driving. It's like the Ghost Games is, it's like some of those people are ex-Criterion people, and there's Burnout lineage and all that other stuff. And I think they've made a game that's good enough to sit right in the middle, where it's not simulation enough to attract the people that really care about real cars, but it's not fun enough to like feel like something you are like having an amazing time.
The people
playing.
who want another like Burnout Paradise,
right?
That's their one racing game.
It's neither Forza nor Burnout.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just this muddy thing that exists somewhere in the middle, and
not doing anything to like really make it its own.
Right.
thing.
And I think that's you'll eventually unlock spots on your car for like like an EMP jammer and some of the other stuff, and like getting a little bit of like a little bit of that. So like Hot Pursuit is like the recent high watermark, I think, for like a Need for Speed game that isn't just like, hey, this feels more like Burnout than the other one does, like chasing the Burnout formula. Like that Hot Pursuit multiplayer,
God, that was so good.
It was amazing,
man,
and like just so well done. Like the gadget stuff, you drop spike strips, or I'm gonna have EMPs to short out your cop car. Like that multiplayer was just great.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think they need to go back to that. I mean, they could, like that would be better than I think what they've got. I don't necessarily think they need to go back to that. It's more about like they need to they need to evoke a feeling. There needs to be a vibe. There needs to be something happening in that game that's just not and hasn't been for this entire generation. They've been stuck between like, well, this time we've got all these authentic people showing up in these FMV cutscenes telling you about how you're a fucking Gymkata guy and like all this other shit that's just like, that's cool, but like, I don't know, like the car part of it is just not good enough. And so like all the chases for authenticity, like maybe you pull people in the door that way if they care enough about real cars. But if they care enough about real cars, they already know that Forza's that game. And that Forza Horizon is the game that splits the difference between like, it's still that game, but now we've made it fun. And, you know, obviously that doesn't exist on PlayStation, so there's really nothing like it there. But I just feel like they've been in a really tough spot with Need for Speed for a very long time now. Like this entire generation of console, like the Need for Speed games, they've taken years off, they've skipped time, you know, I feel like they've done a lot of the things that they could do to try to make more time for this, but like the games keep just feeling like the same problems over and over again.
EA are not usually ones for taking huge risks with established franchises, especially like
but like I mean they rebooted it and just said this game's called Need for Speed. We're rebooting it. We've heard, you know, it's like okay, cool. Like this is kind of still that. Yeah, I don't know what the limitations put upon that team really are to make the games.
Okay, here's what you do. You can drive a car, but you can also do like a hover boat or a plane.
Okay.
You put it chock full of like N64 characters like Banjo-Kazooie. Like Banjo's there, Conker's there, Tip Top the Turtle's there. You can race in like a cool castle, and you call it Diddy Kong Racer 2 : Need for Speed.
That'll never work.
I don't know. Put it on Switch. Anything can work on there.
Yeah, fair enough. You should just get into the Crew 2 because it's basically that game. That's basically. It doesn't have Tip Top the Turtle.
It doesn't have Tip Top.
Did they ever add all the stuff they were supposed to add to the Crew 2?
Fucking probably.
I think they did.
Yeah.
Like multiplayer?
Probably.
I think like 8 months later they added multiplayer.
Did that come out this year?
No, that was last year.
Okay.
It's like a year and a half ago.
Sure. So yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, Need for Speed will be out on Friday, and there are more people playing that, you know, the trial or getting access to it over the course of this week. So I'm still really interested to kind of dig into a little bit of that stuff and see what it looks like with human players and all that sort of stuff and all that. But like, yeah, first take of the first few hours of that thing just doesn't seem like. I feel like I get my hopes up every time they skip a year, which they've done multiple times this generation. That is like, okay, they know they need to do more. They know it needs to be a different thing. Let's see what we get. And then it comes out and it's just like, oh, this is like largely, I mean, it's better than the last one, you know, which was bogged down with microtransactions and a bunch of fucking horse shit around the edges there. Like it already
terrible
seems
characters.
Oh yeah. This already seems like a better game than that one. But it's a pretty low bar.
Yeah, I feel like questions about EA's output are larger than Need for Speed at this point.
Yeah,
kind of where they're at in general.
You know, we'll get into that in the news a little bit, but like, they
seem to be in transition.
I feel like Need for Speed and NBA Live are like rapidly like entering a pretty similar space in terms of just like, I don't know why you're doing this anymore.